The Minnesota Vikings think they are close to a Super Bowl, but what if their biggest obstacle is standing right under center? That's the question exploding across the NFL world after Colin Cowherd made one of the boldest quarterback challenges of the offseason. And it's not just hot take radio noise. This is about urgency, identity, and whether the Vikings are willing to admit they might have miscalculated at the most important position in sports. Because here's the reality. The Vikings are not rebuilding. They're not experimenting. They are not developing slowly. They're built to win right now. You have Justin Jefferson in his prime. You have an elite left tackle protecting the blind side. You have Kevin O'Connell, one of the most respected offensive minds in the league. You have a defense coordinated at an elite level. Windows like this do not stay open long. And when Cowherd went on the herd and said he would go get Aaron Rodgers immediately, it wasn't about nostalgia. It was about opportunity. McCarthy was supposed to be the future. After missing his entire rookie season due to injury, Vikings fans waited patiently. They believed the setback would forge resilience. They believed year 2 would be the breakthrough. Instead, year 2 became another question mark. Multiple injuries limited him to just 10 games. In those 10 games, the numbers told a troubling story. 1,632 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, more picks than scores. That's not development. That's instability. And instability at quarterback is the fastest way to waste a championship-caliber roster. The Vikings finished 9-8, third in the NFC North. No playoffs. Watching January football from home while knowing their talent said they should have been there. That disconnect is what fuels debates like this. Because if the roster says contender but the record says average, something is off. Cowherd didn't hold back. He said it's beyond durability issues. It's little stuff. It's big stuff. You can't depend on him. That's the phrase that hits hardest. Dependable. Availability is part of greatness. Processing speed is part of greatness. Protecting the football is part of greatness. And right now, McCarthy hasn't consistently shown those traits at an NFL level. Now here's where this gets fascinating. Aaron Rodgers is sitting in a space between legacy and uncertainty. After a turbulent 2-year stretch with the Jets, he signed a 1-year deal with the Steelers. Many believe that was the final chapter. Instead, he threw for 3,322 yards and 24 touchdowns. He helped Pittsburgh win the AFC North. He stabilized a franchise that desperately needed veteran control. Yes, the playoff loss to Houston was ugly, 30-6. But context matters. Rodgers still showed he can command an offense. The question is not whether Rodgers is in his prime. He isn't. The question is whether he is better right now than what the Vikings are getting from McCarthy. And that's where this debate becomes uncomfortable for Minnesota fans who invested emotionally in the young quarterback. Because imagine Rodgers in purple. Imagine his timing and precision with Justin Jefferson. Imagine his pre-snap adjustments with O'Connell scripting aggressive game plans. Imagine the Vikings going from hopeful to feared overnight. That's the upside Cowherd sees. But there's another layer. Rodgers has not decided if he's retiring. That uncertainty alone complicates everything. If Minnesota were to pursue him, they would need clarity fast. They would need commitment. They would need to know this isn't a 1-month experiment. And yet, if you're Kevin O'Connell, can you afford not to explore it? Coaches are judged on results, not patience. If another McCarthy injury pushes the Vikings into 4th place in the division next year, the blame won't fall on potential. It will fall on decision-making. There's also the locker room dynamic. Veterans in that building know when a team is close. They feel it in practice. They see it in film sessions. They know when one position is holding them back. Bringing in Rodgers would send a message that management is all in. It would signal urgency. It would tell Jefferson and the defensive leaders that this franchise is not waiting around. Still, this isn't a fairy tale. Rodgers brings personality, pressure, and media intensity. Minnesota would instantly become a national headline machine. Every press conference dissected. Every loss magnified. Every throw analyzed. Are the Vikings prepared for that spotlight? Cowherd believes the risk is worth it. His argument is simple. The Vikings are ready to win now with their personnel. Quarterback is the final piece. If McCarthy can't stay healthy and can't protect the football, then you pivot before the window slams shut. And here's the curiosity that keeps this debate alive. What if McCarthy actually blossoms next year? What if year 3 becomes the leap? If Minnesota signs Rodgers and McCarthy develops elsewhere or stagnates on the bench, The franchise could face long-term consequences. But football doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards conviction. The Vikings sit at a crossroads. One path is loyalty to youth. The other is a calculated swing at proven greatness. Rodgers, a four-time MVP, understands pressure situations. He has navigated playoff runs, hostile environments, and massive expectations. Even at this stage, he processes defenses at a level young quarterbacks struggle to match. The Steelers saw that composure translate into wins. Minnesota could too. The numbers from 2025 don't lie. McCarthy's 11 touchdowns against 12 interceptions tell a story of forced throws and misreads. The multiple injuries tell a story of physical vulnerability. When you combine those, you get instability. Meanwhile, Rodgers' 24 touchdowns against experienced competition show he still commands respect. Even in a league driven by youth, experience can be the equalizer. Now think about the NFC landscape. The conference is not invincible. There are contenders, yes. But there is no unbeatable dynasty blocking the door. A disciplined, veteran quarterback with elite weapons could absolutely make noise. So when Cowherd says he would go get Aaron Rodgers, he isn't chasing headlines. He's chasing logic. He's looking at a roster primed for January football and asking why Minnesota would gamble that on uncertainty. The Vikings front office has to evaluate more than box scores. They must assess leadership. They must assess recovery timelines. They must assess locker room belief. Does this team truly believe McCarthy can carry them? Or are they quietly wondering what could happen with a future Hall of Famer under center? This is bigger than one radio segment. It's about philosophy. Do you prioritize development or dominance? Do you double down on potential or pivot toward proven? Minnesota fans are divided. Some argue patience. Others crave immediate contention. And in the middle sits Kevin O'Connell, balancing loyalty with ambition. Because if Rodgers returns for one more year and Minnesota does nothing, and he signs elsewhere and thrives, the regret would sting. But if they pursue him and it collapses, the scrutiny would be relentless. That tension is what makes this offseason so critical. So let's ask the real question. Are the Vikings brave enough to admit they might need a different answer at quarterback? Or will they trust that year 3 of J.J. McCarthy rewrites the narrative? Drop your take in the comments. If you're Kevin O'Connell, do you stay loyal to McCarthy and bet on growth, or do you call Aaron Rodgers and push all your chips in for one last run at a Super Bowl? Because the clock is ticking in Minnesota. And decisions like this define franchises for years.